Salutations, fellow nerds. I'm Rick Y, and today is April 4th, 2025. Yesterday, stocks plunged, and there were two primary reactions to this news that everyone saw coming. Some were placed in dismay, while others are still seeking a river in Africa. Denial. As markets continue to plummet, those who have their heads still firmly up Trump's rear still refuse to take seriously the moment that we're in. So I thought I would break down just a few little details to help those out there who are having trouble truly grasping the situation within which we find ourselves. So if you dig news, history, or humorous American hogwash, make sure to drop a laughing emoji in the comments. Because at this point, if we don't laugh, we'll be forced to cry. So, a quick recap of what just happened. After Trump launched into a global trade war by imposing sweeping, unnecessary tariffs on all of our allies and trading partners while leaving out Belarus, Russia, and North Korea, the stock market saw a dramatic price hike and then took a nosedive. Beyond the universal baseline 10% tariff on all imports into the U.S., effective tomorrow, the automotive industry is going to take a particularly large hit. Others include clothing, coffee, furniture, electronics, and pharmaceuticals. So, if you grow your own food, wonderful. Let me know when you've created your own insulin. Economists are now warning this could raise the average American's cost of living by $3,800 per year, while increasing inflation rates to 4% or above. Because of this, the market's reactions were immediate and heavy. And if you need some actual numbers, the U.S. stock market lost $2 trillion yesterday alone. Let me repeat that because it bears repeating. The United States just watched $2 trillion evaporate because of a single person's reckless behavior. The official logic? That this will improve fairness in trading relationships and create more domestic jobs. The methodology behind how this will work is, as Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has claimed, as long as nobody panics and retaliates in any way, everything should be fine. Legit, this is a massive gaslighting campaign to convince you that they're not making taxpayers fund their massive windfalls. They don't care if America fails economically as long as they individually succeed. And as long as they can get every slack-jawed dick remora to carry their water for them, the longer they can tank our financial situation and convince you that in some arbitrary future timeline, everything will get better. But since this is the real world, what will actually happen is supply chains will again get screwed up in ways that we saw during COVID pandemic, followed by inflation, layoffs, and already reduced global trade. Luckily, they have found enough rubes to say that while rebounding from a calamitous disease was a mismanagement by the man with dementia, it would actually be more patriotic if you stopped complaining and just dealt with the pain that you're about to feel, because that's what people did in World War II. I shit you not. That's the narrative coming out of the Fox propaganda machine. Here's a couple of other sweet ones. We're finally standing up to China, which fell flat immediately this morning when China imposed reciprocal tariffs. Short-term pain, long-term gain, or the markets will adjust with no clear or precise timeline. Most people in the manufacturing sector say that it will take at least the rest of his presidential term just to get the facilities needed to start producing at the levels required to accomplish Trump's goals. And that's only if contracts for those factories were signed yesterday. All of the hard data, GDP downgrades, consumer pricing, real-world layoffs, these are demonstrating that this is going to hurt much more than some of his constituents would have you believe. So what's with all this denial? A lot of it comes to psychological investment. Not only do people not like finding out that they were conned or made fools of, they don't really want to think that they backed a reckless decision by empowering this man. One of the clearest examples, people who said, watch what he does, not what he says, which essentially meant, I don't believe anything coming out of his mouth, and that's why I'm voting for him. That alone is maybe worth some reflection. When you support a person for the opposite of their stated views, there's what we call cognitive dissonance there, louder than an air raid siren. I want you to try and grasp how and why it is absurd to make decisions based along that logic. It makes no sense at all. Another reason, culture war bullshit blinded people to reality. Framing the importance of minorities in sports or spouting unsubstantiated moral panic created this idea that there was at least something morally justifiable in supporting even a fraction of what Trump was promising. If I had a dime for every time I heard the term woke during the 2024 campaign cycle, I'd have a silo full of coins that I'd jump into like Scrooge McDuck every day. And while drag queen story hours and transgender athletes infected the minds of conservatives and moderates alike, now we're seeing a tidal wave of conservative and religious influencers getting arrested for the exact crimes that they got everybody terrified of. So what's the bigger picture here? America absolutely needs better trade strategies. We can all probably agree on that. But this ain't it. Right now, consumers are being hit twice as hard through cost of living increases that are inevitable at this point and the loss in their 401ks and retirement portfolios. This was a massive misfire, and it was done intentionally. I don't think this is some strategy to make you and me more wealthy and usher in some utopian economy. This is a way to force you to fill their pockets and then thank them when you're done. This is another grift, and it may end up turning out to be one of the biggest economic scams since Bernie Madoff. The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent actually shares some of the same fascinating similarities. Scott Bessent speaks with the same confidence that Bernie Madoff once did, calm, polished, assured. The difference is that Madoff's damage was personal. Bessent's comes with the seal of the United States Treasury. I am not calling or asking for a call to arms from my conservative viewers, but I am asking for a call to thought. You don't have to be anti-Trump to see that this is a bad policy. You just have to be pro-reality. If you've hung out with me this far and appreciate the content, consider liking and subscribing. It'd be great to have you in this growing community of thoughtful, empathetic humans. If you think others could gain something from hearing from these messages, share what you dig. Thank you so very much for your support. Y'all come back now. You hear?